I cosplayed Ragatha from the Amazing Digital Circus, and here's an extensive tutorial on how I made this cosplay. In this video, I'll cover how I made the dress, how I made the wig, and how I made her hair bow. I really hope this tutorial is useful for anyone wanting to cosplay Ragatha. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments. And if you do end up using this tutorial, please tag me. I'd love to see some more Ragatha cosplays. I'm gonna cosplay Ragatha. Okay, issue is, I hate all the ones you can buy, I don't like them. Another issue, I could not find a dress that would work, so we're gonna have to get creative. This is what I got. It's giving Victorian ghost dress. It's a bit too long. I like the just vibe of it though, I don't know. I wanted that Victorian kind of doll look. So I'm willing to sacrifice a bit of being canon for just the drama of it all. First we're gonna dye it, and then I'm gonna see what I can do about the sleeves and the length. There's a lot of debate over whether she's purple or if she's blue, and that's because the lighting in the show is so crazy. I don't think I'm gonna have much control over what color it turns out, so we're just gonna have to see. The goal is the middle of purple and blue so that no one can be mad, okay? So the first step was dyeing the dress, so I completely soaked it in water and wrung it out so that it was damp. And then I filled my sink with warm water and put a bunch of table salt in it to help the dye soak in. Mixed the blue and purple Dylon dyes. Then I put my dress in the water, which was honestly looking concerningly yellow at this point, but I was hoping for the best. Okay, it's been an hour. Or actually... Whoa. Then I threw my freshly blurpled dress into the washing machine and set it to a rinse cycle. Then I hung it up to dry, and I'm honestly so happy with the colour. It's exactly what I wanted. Here's how it looked when it was dry. So next was to customize the dress to be more accurate to Ragatha. I cut out this middle section of the skirt because I wanted the skirt to be a little bit shorter. So I cut it off the torso and then cut round the lower section of the skirt. I also cut off the sleeves to the length I wanted, because Ragatha has short sleeves and this dress unfortunately had long sleeves. Now when you're shortening sleeves, make sure you make them a little bit longer than you actually want, because you will lose a little bit of length when you hem them later. Next, I just reattached the skirt with the section removed from the middle, and I did a super simple rolled hem on the sleeve so there were no raw edges. I also added this thick white lace to the sleeve because she does have a white section on her sleeves in canon. And here's how the dress turned out after all my modifications. For Ragatha's patches, I wanted to do something a little bit different, so I collected a bunch of blue scrap fabrics from charity shops and fabric stores near me. I wanted them to be different pattern to just plain, because I thought it would add a little something cool and interesting to the cosplay. So I basically just cut a bunch of rectangles of different sizes, hemmed them, and just sewed them onto the dress. I tried to keep the placement as canon as possible, so I looked at a lot of references while I was doing that. And then for the finishing touch, I got some thick embroidery thread and sewed a couple of kind of cartoony stitches onto the edge because she has these in her canon design. Full disclosure, I completely forgot to record this part, but I added a collar and a white ruffle to the bottom of the dress. And before anyone says anything, yes, I know she doesn't actually have this white ruffle in canon on the bottom of the dress, but I just think it looks so much cuter and it really balances out the dress in my opinion. So I added it anyway. And that's the dress done and dusted. Here's how it turned out. And now, the part that everyone was probably waiting for, here is how I made my wig. And I think I used about half of this massive block of glue, so make sure you stock up on the yellow Yoo-hoo glue if you're doing this. So first of all, I made a bunch of these tubes out of this white mesh fabric, which I think I just got on Amazon by typing in white mesh or something along those lines. I cut out rectangles of red felt, covered it in Yoo-hoo glue, and then wrapped up the mesh tubes in this glue and left it to dry. Here is my beautiful collection of tacky rolls. Delicious. This was very satisfying. The next part I streamed, so I'm sorry that the footage of this looks kind of crazy, but I basically glued shut one end of the tubes and then used the Yoo-hoo glue again to completely wrap these tubes in red yarn. And yes, this took forever, but I'm happy I did this because it kind of gave the look of a super tight yarn ringlet, which is what I wanted to go for Ragatha's hair. I believe I made around 30 of these, but you basically need enough for 3 layers that go all the way around your head, so it is up to you how thick you want your wig to be. Next I'll show you how to prep your wig before you put the big ringlets on it, and how to do this underlayer so that you don't have any bald spots in your wig. So for this you want to take an old wig, it doesn't necessarily have to be red, but I did that just in case there are any gaps. And then you want to cut all of the hair as short as you can, so you want to snip all the wefts down to the base. So you're basically left with this bald, empty wig cap, which looks really good. Be really careful you don't cut any of the wig cap or the base of the weft while you do this, because you want that for your construction later. For the base of the wig, the fringe, and for a few front pieces, I crocheted something called a Romanian cord. I actually didn't know how to crochet before this, so it is possible if you just Google a tutorial. Trust. But basically, it's a slightly thicker crochet chain. You want to make enough of these to cover the whole bottom 50% of your wig. So basically any area of the wig cap that's sort of behind your ears and on the bottom half of the wig, you want to glue these straight to the wig cap. I used hot glue for this, but make sure you don't put too much or your wig will end up becoming very rigid and solid, which is not what we want. So after you're done, this is what the wig should look like. Next we're going to start attaching these big ringlets to the wig, and I decided to tie these on because I wanted the wig to still have a lot of bounce and movement. So essentially you want to poke a hole in the side of the ringlet that you glued together earlier, poke a piece of yarn through, and then just tie this onto the wig cap like this. Make sure you double knot these, trim off any ends, and then I also put hot glue in the knots so that they definitely wouldn't come undone. Do this all over the wig except for the fringe and parting at the top. At the very top of the wig there won't be any holes to tie the ringlets on. So for this part I cut a small rectangle of red felt and cut a few slits so that it would lay flat on the wig cap. Hot glued that on to the top of the wig, and this is because the parting at the top will have a small line down the middle where you'll be able to see the wig cap, so this felt basically just fills up that hole. For the remainder of the wig with no slots in between the wefts, you're just going to carefully hot glue the flat side of your ringlets onto the wig cap. So make sure you leave a little space at the front to do your fringe and the little side pieces, but you want to kind of glue them all pointing outwards from the parting of the wig. The front section is going to be made of those Romanian cords that we crocheted earlier. So you're just going to crochet some short pieces for the fringe and some slightly longer pieces. And you're going to hot glue these to the little empty section we left on the wig earlier to make the fringe and some little face framing side pieces. And the last step of the wig is just to give yourself a little haircut, cut off any parts that look like they're sticking out a little bit too much, and just make it look all neat and tidy. And that's it for the wig. Okay, now we'll move on to her hair bow. So what you want to do is cut out the shape that you want for the bow out of 2 pieces of fabric and 2 pieces of interfacing. Line them up in the same way I have here, so 1 layer of interfacing, 2 layers of fabric, and then another layer of interfacing. Pin these together so that they don't become misaligned in any way, and then you want to sew all the way around both sides and the top of the bow, leaving that bottom edge unsewn. And I just used a regular straight stitch for this. Take those pins out and then turn her inside out so that both of the fabric layers are on the outside. This is a great technique for making honestly any shape when you're sewing, because it just has super neat edges, which if you press them they look super crisp. I'm just using a hair straightener here because it's way easier, and I also don't own an iron, so life hack I guess. Next I'm gonna stuff this with this microfiber stuffing that I actually ripped out of a pillow. So we just want to do this so that it holds its shape. You really don't need to overfill this, like don't stuff it to the brim with stuffing, just put enough so that it kind of holds its shape. And then sew along the bottom edge to close off our bow and trim off any excess fabric. I also went over this with a zigzag stitch across that edge that we've just sewn just to make it extra secure and neat. To make this into a nice, cute bow instead of just a weird kind of pillow, you want to get a strip of fabric and wrap it tightly around the middle. Make sure you really crush the inside of the bow into this fabric strip to make it look super nice and like cartoony bow shape, and then sew it shut on your sewing machine. Trim off the overhang of this fabric strip and then carefully do a zigzag stitch along the edge of this too, because we don't want our bow falling apart at the convention. And there we go, a cute cartoony Ragatha bow. And to attach this to our wig, I actually just slotted a hair clip through that fabric strip, and then I attached it to one of the back ringlets of the wig. Alternatively, you can also glue this onto the wig, but I wanted mine to be removable so that it's easy transportation. And there we go, we are done, looking super cute. You've got your wig, you've got your bow, you've got your dress. If you're making your own cosplay, I wish you the best of luck. I hope this helped in some way. Please, please, please remember to like, subscribe, press that hype button, press that notification bell, all the things people do. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day and an amazing cosplay journey. I will hopefully see you in my next video or in one of my lives. Goodbye!